Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI360. Nigeria is currently at the toughest phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, or what the government calls a tipping point. For days now, the number of daily cases has been consistently on the rise, surpassing previous records, with cases now being recorded in the thousands. All around the world, governments are relying on vaccines to provide immunity against the disease, in addition to other preventive measures now. Nigeria also hopes to get 42 million COVID vaccines to cover 70% of the country's population this year. As a matter of fact, the first 100,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine are expected to arrive the country by the end of January. Now, frontline health workers, national leaders, and vulnerable persons will be the first to receive the vaccines. And however, with several unverified claims about the vaccine, the Nigerian government still faces a huge task of educating citizens on the importance of the vaccine and why they should take it. Joining me now to discuss this is Dr. Steve Musu, who is a public health physician. Doc, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We saw the kind of challenge we had to battle with the polio vaccination now. It appears we are on to a bigger challenge with the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes, you're right.
So what exactly needs to be done to overcome this challenge? Because just too many conspiracy theories have been woven around this vaccine, and even when we have not received the vaccine yet, some people have made up their mind they are not going to take it.
You're quite right. If I may cast your mind back, you remember there was a problem in Kano at a time about meningitis vaccine, that there was a refusal by people to take that vaccine because they thought it was meant to make them sterile, make them imported. And then currently, with this COVID-19 problem, first of all, many people don't believe that it exists. And then secondly, there are so many conspiracy theories, as you say. So the anti-vaxxers, that is those who don't want anything to do with the vaccine, are totally against it. That is the second thing. The third thing will now be, assuming there's acceptance. Now, is the country ready? Do we have the logistics to make this happen? Vis-a-vis quality, storage, getting the advocacy done, and getting people to accept, and storing the vaccines well. In other words, I'm talking about the cold chain issue regarding all vaccines, and then especially the COVID-19 vaccine.
Now, of course, the government will just have to look for a way to deal with the issue of logistics. And I understand the biggest problem when it comes to logistics would be that of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, because of it needs to be stored at temperatures of is it minus 70 or minus 80 degrees. But other than that, the vaccine will obviously come. But other than that, what in concrete terms do you think the government needs to begin to do now to get people ready to openly accept this vaccine? Because it's one thing, as you have said, to get the vaccines in. It's a different thing to get people to accept. And if you have a situation where a lot of people, just as you've said, do not even believe that the vaccine exists, and then we hear some religious leaders too preaching against the use of the vaccine, then we face a very bigger challenge. So what do you think in concrete terms the government needs to begin to do at this time?
One will be a strong advocacy and creating sufficient awareness, because there's already a distrust. There's already a distrust spurred on by conspiracy theories and people not believing. So people will need to be made to understand that there's a need for the vaccines to be taken. And then they are to be assured of the safety. It may not be sufficient for, say, the president or his vice or any top official
To take
this vaccine
publicly?
Yes, it may not be enough. There has to be a grassroots effort to get these things accepted, to get the vaccine accepted. And that is a big challenge.
And even for public health physicians like you, it's a big challenge as well.
Yes, because today I was trying to convince somebody about the conspiracy theories, that it has been there even before COVID-19 came up. It has been there for a number of years back. And then the persons were adamant that, look, it's difficult for them to believe. What with the rearrangement of our DNA and all that, and then the 666 issue.
Very, very lousy conspiracies sometimes, and it's quite surprising that quite a number of people believe them. But are you not surprised that people would even doubt the existence of COVID-19 and say it doesn't exist? Are you not surprised that we would have that kind of situation in Nigeria? Could it be because we do not have the kind of mortality rate we see in the West?
That is partly the reason. Because one is that on television and by other media, people are just hearing and seeing what is happening far away. And mostly they'll ask you, have you seen somebody close to you who has this thing, who has this virus, or who died from it? So the mortality rate is one issue. But then again, that is our safety, in the sense that, look, factors that would have made it easier for us to fall victim to this are not existing the way it is. Looking at issues like the age distribution, or we tend to have a larger youth age rate than you have overseas, where they have more elderly people. You know, it makes it difficult for them to really accept and come to terms with it. So a lot of work needs to be done.
And the truth is that you cannot force people to take the vaccines anyway.
No, you can't. You can't. Just like any other medical procedure, it has to be a consented, effort. You can't force anybody.
But sometimes I just imagine this. Imagine a scenario where suddenly the number of mortality, spikes, and you just have deaths here and there. The government might have no choice than to probably compel people to take, I don't know what method it's going to use, but probably to compel people to take the vaccine.
Yeah, it is this way. If the mortality goes higher than it is now, dangerously high, the government still will not have the legal backing to compel people. It's not done. The only way it can be done will be indirectly. If you want to access certain things, you probably want to travel it will be mandatory. Such indirect ways can now be adopted. But for you to now go from house to house, forcing people to take the vaccine, I don't see it working. Legally, that would be wrong. But then, commonsensically, it has to be done. But legally, that would be wrong. So it still goes back to the issue of trust.
It's a terrible situation, and the good thing is that the government understands this. The head of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency actually said something about it. I just want us to quickly take a listen to what he said about the challenge ahead with dealing with this issue of getting people to accept the vaccine, even though the vaccines are not here. But, you know, he's obviously said people need to, experts, public health physicians and medical experts need to prepare to wage that battle ahead. Let's take a listen to him very quickly.
We already see a situation where there's evidence of resistance to the uptake of the vaccines even before they have arrived the country. We must acknowledge that the average non-health worker may not necessarily have all the information required to make an informed decision. We must continue to not only offer the vaccines, but we must put in the hard work, the effort, the time, and the resources that are required to inform the general public. It is only human that we fear what we don't understand. What we fear, we judge as evil. What we judge as evil, we attempt to control. And what we cannot control, we attack. This happens in every facet of life. So that understanding around the vaccine needs to improve, and I'm sure that many people will come around.
So, Dr. Steve Nwosu, let me just conclude by asking you this. Do you envisage a situation where, when these vaccines eventually arrive, the majority of Nigerians would reject them?
Yeah, I'm looking at that possibility as very possible.
And that would be bad for all of us.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Dr. Steve Nwosu, public health physician, thank you very much for joining us on the program and for your contributions.
Thank you, DEJI.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.